Hello Warhammer fans, and welcome back to another video about the upcoming Interbellum private server for Warhammer Online. And they release some more information regarding scenarios, specifically the philosophy of scenarios, what they're thinking of doing, what we're going to see in the game. And of course, remember, none of this is written in stone, so a lot of things could change. But let's go and see what we should expect. In Interbellum server, there will be 3 distinct different queues for scenarios to queue. First one will be the supplemental queue, which will be for the non-group players, the pugs, the soloers, anybody who likes to play the game in that way. This queue will prioritize 1 healer per 6 players, as well as a 12 versus 12 scenario. So we're already seeing that they want to have 1 healer per group minimum, and they're trying to do scenarios 12 versus 12, 2 groups versus 2 groups. So there's a lot of people, you can have some fun there. If you have not obtained a scenario pop within 20 minutes, you will be dumped into a 6v6 scenario with 0 matchmaking restrictions. This is what everything goes to shit. Basically, you queue solo. If you don't get a good scenario with a healer and 12 versus 12, you go down to 6v6 and you could end up with just tanks, just DPS, just healers. It doesn't matter, but you do get a pop to play, and 20 minutes is a decent amount of time to queue for a bad day, I suppose. Players within the same guild, please pay attention to this. Players in the same guild will be considered grouped players, whether you're in a group or not. If you're in the same guild, you are for the scenario matchmaking in a group, and therefore you can never show up in the same scenario, especially the supplemental, that's what it means here, except if you're dumped. So if you're queued, you're in the pool, there's no scenario pop in 20 minutes, then you may end up in a 6v6 with 0 matchmaking restrictions, and you could end up playing with someone in your own guild. Also, this includes players that left the guild in a certain amount of time, X amount of time frame before they join the queue. So you can't just leave the guild and then queue up, so you're going to end up in the same one. There is a restriction there as well, protecting not to bypass this pug queue. Additionally, if you change your hard specialization while you're in the supplemental queue, you will be removed, not just dumped down to 6v6, no restriction, you'll be completely removed from the queue. I believe this is a fail-safe for people can say, hey, I'm a healer, then switch to DPS for those that can do that, or support DPS on the server. Furthermore, the supplemental queue, which is the puggy, the free for everybody, has the lowest rewards. And pay attention to this, it does not apply any resources to the RVR campaign. This is something was happening to the Age of Reckoning, with scenarios were affecting the campaign. So it looks like we're going back to that model. So scenarios will matter again, pushing the campaigns forward. So that's kind of a little reveal there. Now, this reduced reward is still applied if you come across a standard queue dump. I mean, we're going to see what the standard queue is next, but if you are dumped into that, you maintain your reduced reward, and the other way around. We'll see that on the standard one. So let's go and have a look on the standard. The standard queue will be again for all players. These are the differences between the standard queue and the supplemental queue. The standard queue is prioritizing in placing full groups against other full groups with a 50-50 chance of being on a 6v6 scenario or a 12 versus 12 scenario. Now, if you don't have a full group, then your group will be pieced together to make a full group with solo players from the supplemental queue by filling in the gaps. This queue, however, makes 0 priority on role composition. So if you play with some of your friends, make sure that at least if you're going to queue as a 3-man, you have a tank and a healer in that 3-man, or 2 healers and a tank. So if you are filled up with the solo queue, at least you end up with a tank and a heal on your group. Standard players who have not received a queue in 20 minutes, the same as the supplemental queue, will be dumped into the supplemental. So you go 1 queue backwards. Now, if you do that, you will retain your rewards. Remember, the supplemental queue has less rewards than the standard queue. So if for any reason in 20 minutes you're not found a match to play and you're dumped to the supplemental, you hold the better rewards that you have. In this queue, the standard one, you can change your specialization and you will remain in the queue, something that doesn't happen on the supplemental. Finally, the standard queue, if you win, resources will be applied to the campaign. But if you're queued in the standard queue and you're dumped to the supplemental, then if you win the match, resources will not be added to the campaign. So if you want to help the campaign to whatever degree is going to be doing that, you need to queue for the standard and you need to play a standard match. So now let's go and see the last mode. The third and last queuing mode is Warband queues. This is something I don't remember existing on Age of Reckoning or Return of Reckoning. So now you can queue for scenarios as a Warband. Now the queuing is available to Warband leaders only. This queue will try and place Warbands versus Warbands in a base scenario. I want to see if they're going to have the same map on new maps. There is no queue dumping for this, which means that if you queue for this one, whether it's 20 minutes or 40 minutes, that's it. You don't move anywhere else. You wait for another Warband to play. You may change your hard specialization at any time. You will not be removed from the queue, as it happens on the supplemental. Provides the same individual rewards as the standard queue. So whether you play standard or Warband, you get exactly the same rewards as an individual, and you will see what that means in a minute. Now, those rewards are improved by 50% if you have shared a guild with a Warband leader for X frame of time. This is to prevent you from leaving your guild, joining a guild, going into a Warband match and get the extra rewards. So basically, you get the same as standard plus 50% if you are a guild Warband. Now, if your Warband is not full and you need another 4 people and you know some people from another guild or some friends in real life, people you know in the game, you can invite them. They're still going to help you and get the standard rewards, which are a lot better than the supplemental if they were queuing solo. Now, the RVR resources earned in this match are multiplied by 10. So you help the campaign to move forward. Doing a standard gives resources equal to the amount of points won in the match, which I'm assuming is going to be 500 again. But in the Warband, that is multiplied by 10. So it looks like we're going to need a lot of resources for the campaign to move it forward. Now, an individual cannot participate in a 24 versus 24 scenario, a Warband scenario, more than once every 30 minutes. There is a limit there. I'm assuming this is a fail-safe to prevent people from just having Warbands queuing for scenarios non-stop. So they want people to go back into the lakes. If the size of your Warband drops below 18, you will be removed from the queue. I'm not sure exactly what this means, but I'm assuming you can queue in the Warband and then it will make a Warband. I mean, you can queue in a Warband scenario without having an entire Warband. Like you make a 3-man, a 5-man, you convert that into a Warband, you queue, and then it will fill up. Or does that mean you have a Warband and some of your people go away, they didn't have enough time, it took too long to queue, and only if you get to 18 you will drop you. But if you get to 18, will it fill up with other people or not? And you're going to have to fight the 24 versus 18. This is something we're going to have to ask and see if we can get some more information. But the important thing here is you got solo queue, you have group queue, and then you're going to have Warband queue, and those queues seem to be intermixed. So if you need people on the PUG, you get from the group. If you need people on the group, you get people from the PUG, and the same might be happening for the Warband. Those are the 3 modes that we're going to have to queue. So let's go now and see how scenarios are going to work. What is the philosophy behind the scenarios? Because this team has said before they want to have tactical scenarios and not just blobbing and things like that. So let's go and have a look what we expect to do and how to play the scenarios. Now, when you have picked one of the queues, whether it's the supplemental, the standard, or the 24 versus 24, these are going to be, let's say, the 3 modes or types of scenarios you can join regarding the amount of people you're going to be fighting. Now, during those scenarios, you're going to encounter 3 designs. That means like the stages that happened into the scenario. Not the mechanics of the scenario itself, but what happens in different stages throughout the scenario. So let's see this a little bit more in detail to become more clear. Now, I already mentioned they're going to have the 6v6, the 12 versus 12, and the 24 versus 24 or Warband versus Warband scenarios. Now, those scenarios the maps will be chosen at random from an available pool from the core and RVR zones which are open, and the previous open zones in a maximum of 9. So you're going to be 9 scenarios available as maps to be picked when you queue randomly. Now, most of those scenarios will be objective based, with skills having a diminishing return in the value. Most scenarios in Age of Reckoning, Return of Reckoning, they give you about 5 points per kill. Here, they have reduced that. They have diminished that value by a lot. So I think it's down to 1, but we'll see that on the next design. Now, don't worry, because I know some of you don't really like objective-based scenarios. There will be some scenarios which are team death matches or elimination where the kills do matter, but the main idea is that most of them will be objective-based. So that is a little bit different from playing RVR, which is basically kill-based. There will be that. So you have 2 distinct modes to play. Now, I know some of you might be disappointed a little bit, but there will be no surrender option in those scenarios. You go in, win or lose, you're in there for whatever happens. Now, that is the core design, but during the scenario, you will encounter 3 total designs. One of them is the core. The next one is the domination design. Let's go have a look. So the dominated design that can happen during a scenario. That means that as a philosophy, they have put the flags to give you a base value of 5 resources per second. As we said, the kills on these kind of scenarios are reduced. They're diminished down to 1 point. The philosophy behind this is that you really want the flags to be worth something, and you can only do that by removing the killing part of it. Now, flags should be taken by player proximity. That means you don't actually have to click the flag, you have to be there. I'm assuming we're going to see a mechanism similar to the Return of Reckoning, where the team that has the most people on the flag within a certain area will be able to get it, and not just the first person that goes there. Now, remember, we're talking about philosophy, and the philosophy here is that this scenario we're talking about is an objective-based scenario, so the kill value should be minimal. And people are going to say, yeah, what's going to happen about the killing? Everybody's going to run for the flags. But remember, the killing is going to be there, because in order to capture the flag, you have to either kill your enemy in order to capture it, or you have to push them away. So there will be fights and skirmishes. During this domination period or design, the thing that happens is this. If you have all 3 flags, and as soon as you have 100 points more than your enemy, so if your enemy has 50, you need to have 150, 100 more in order to reach 100 on the score, then the values you get from the flags being 5 points per second, they're multiplied by 5. So you start getting 25 every 5 seconds per flag. So the math ends quickly. And don't forget, we're talking about philosophy here, which means we're just seeing how the mechanism is going to work. So the point here is that if you already own 3 flags and you already have 100 plus more points than your enemy, you're already dominating. There's no need to stay in a scenario like this. So let's end the scenario quickly, and hopefully people will queue up again and end up in a much better scenario, a more balanced scenario to have fun. That is one reason why the dominated scenario, dominated design exists, so it can end up a overwhelmed scenario very quickly, so people can queue up for the next one. And this is why you don't need to have a surrender button. Now, the reason why there is no surrender button, and I tend to agree with that, is that once you're overwhelmed, people just click surrender, 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 and really demoralize the people to queue and do things like that. There's no need for that if, as we can see here, there's a design, there's a mechanism which it can detect that, okay, this is not a lot of fun. These people are much better than the other ones. Let's end this and we move on to the next one. Now, there's one more design as you go along the scenario, which is the comeback design. Let's go and have a look. The comeback design is one of those designs that I like. It is for those people that don't give up and they want to make a comeback, what the word exactly says. So we just talked about the domination design. When somebody has more than 100 points in the scenario, the flags start taking 5 times more points, from 5 to 25, to end the scenario fast, because you have been dominated, you don't fight back. But not everything is lost. There's also a chance for a comeback, and this is what I like. So Once you hit 100 points in the domination stage of the scenario, if it happens, you start getting more points. But once you get those 50 points extra, so you're 150 points higher than your enemy, then your enemy gets buffed. And they get buffed by 50%. So the one flag, the zero flag or flag they're going to get is going to give them 50% more resources. And the kills also going to be worth 50% more, giving them a chance to start catching up and make a comeback. If they pull themselves together, they organize really quickly, they can go out, get the first flag, or go on the side, pick up another flag on the other side of the map, reduce the gains on the enemy team, start getting 50% more, plus 50% more on the kills. And of course, they will need the second flag to catch up a lot faster and revert the domination, the comeback design, and go back into the normal mode within a certain amount of time. And this also will make the matches more fun, more playable, if people just don't give up and click the surrender button or just AFK. Also remember, AFKing is not a thing to do in this scenario, because in order for you to get your rewards, you have to participate into the scenario. You have to be part of the capturing, of the killing, of the recapturing. You gotta be there and do things, otherwise you get nothing. And of course, this is also a mechanism that I'm hoping going to motivate people to play, because not everything is lost on your first death. You can really regroup, go back, get the flags. This is why they're called objective-based scenarios. This is why the tactical, you lose all the flags, you can still sneak around, go and pick one up and make a comeback. It will feel great. That's how I enjoy my scenarios. And also, I'm saying all this little introduction for this point, which is very important. A lot of times we play scenarios, 0 to 500 you lose, 100 to 500 you lose, 50 to 500 you lose. Just the number, just hearing the number 0 to 500 points difference is really demoralizing, is really destroying. This is a mechanism that if people choose to try and come back, it will end up having a scenario saying 400 to 500 loss, 450 to 500. Just the number is enough to say, yeah, okay, we got close, we didn't win, let's try again. Don't forget, it's random matchmaking is random maps, so you do have a chance to do that. And also, even if you pug, you might get a little bit lucky on the next one and get a 3-man or a 4-man from the standard coming down because they didn't find people, or you may be pulled up to the standard and have fun. It's not always about the reward or the carrot. It's always about fun. And I think this cross-linking mechanism, getting the 3-man into the pug and the pug into the 3-man or the 4-man to group them up, it might actually work to reduce queuing times, and it might actually work to have more fun into the scenarios. And now we talked about this and we said about it's not about the reward and the carrot. Playing a scenario is all about the fun, and these 3 designs could happen throughout the gameplay of a scenario. They sound interesting, they sound fair, and it seems like it's something nice to have in a scenario. But rewards are required. We do want rewards because it could be XP, it could be renown, it could be gear. I don't know, they haven't really specified what the rewards are going to be, but there will be rewards, and let's have a look what they said. When someone does something in real life or in games, of course they expect to get paid, they expect some sort of a reward, and scenarios will give you rewards. But this video is about the philosophy of scenarios, which means we're looking at mechanism and how things are going to work, what to expect, what could be the stages and the mechanism and the fail-safes in the scenario, and not what exactly we're going to get. The information they release, that don't tell us what the reward's going to be, how much XP, how much renown, whether you're going to get crates of goods, if you're going to get appearance items, or anything else regarding this. But the details about the philosophy of the mechanism, how you can acquire whatever rewards you're going to get in the future by participating into the scenarios. So the reward system here, how you gain your rewards, it's up to the player. It's an individual mechanism where everybody is getting the rewards based on the amount of points they help their team acquire during the match, during the scenario. So if you win, but you don't do anything to gain points, you get 0. If you lose and you still don't do anything to help your team, you still get 0. This means that the reward is crafted to what you do in the scenario. So AFKing or doing nothing will get you nothing. How do you get points though? So we're going to use the Northern War scenario as an example. So if you help to capture a flag, you and anyone else on your team that stay near the flag, because remember, flags are captured by proximity. You got to be there. You don't click them. You get points to yourself for rewards at the end. For each point the flag generated until it was captured, it goes towards your contribution. If you kill an enemy near a friendly flag, you're defending it or you're capturing it, you get points contributing to your contribution. If you kill someone near the spawn point, however, you're only going to get credit 1 point. Killing in scenarios counts for 1 point. I'm assuming if you kill them in the flag, you might get a little bit more because of the tick of the flag in the kill, or if you are away from the flag, is only 1 point. Now, let's say the scenario ends, you lose, okay? And you lost 450 to 500 to this example, and you personally did 300 points and somebody else on your team did the 150 points only. Everybody else was AFK, bastards. So everybody else was AFK, right? So you did 300, they did 150. That means you're going to get double the rewards, whatever the reward is at the end. And this is a good thing. It really makes you not AFK. It really promotes gameplay, coordination. You want to be there when the flag is captured. You want to be there when the flag is defended. And you want to go sneak around and capture another flag to contribute on your own. So all these mechanisms working together, either you want to break out from the group and take a flag from the back, you get contribution. You want to go and help defend a flag, you get contribution. You want to go and help and capture a flag, you get contribution. You want to go around, you know, you're a witch hunter, a witch elf, and stick in front of a spawn point and kill solo players, you get nothing. You get 1 point per kill, you get nothing at the end. So this also promotes group play. Here's a few key things to remember about the scenario philosophy and the information they released. Number one, there's going to be 3 different scenario queues. The supplemental, which is the pug one, the standard, which is the group one, and the warband, which is the 24 versus 24. Now, standard queue for the group, I'm assuming still 3 people counts as a group, and if you queue as a 3-man, another 3-man will come in and join to make a 6-man, and if that doesn't happen, people from the supplemental will be pulled up and come and join you to make a group. Or if you don't find a standard group match, you will be, let's say, downgraded to the supplemental pug one to have a match there. Number 2, there are 3 designs that can happen during the scenario. One is the core design, which basically is how you gain the points of the scenario, capturing flags, killing, and so on and so forth. Number 2, dominated design is if one team is overwhelming the other one. It increases the point generation so the scenario can end fast and hopefully get a better one next time you queue. Number 3, design, comeback design. So if you are dominated and you're not giving up, you can go back, get some flags, get 50% more points off the flags to give you a boost to come back and win the scenario if you don't give up. And number 3, the rewards. Although they didn't specify what the rewards are, the ways to get them is by individual effort, because the rewards are based on what you do personally, not as a group. Which means if you take action, capture flags, kill, help, assist, any of the mechanism we're going to see in scenarios, you get rewards. The more you do towards the objectives, the more you get at the end. It's not a standard amount. You win, you get 500. You do more, you can get 500 points, 800 points, depends how much you contributed. And of course, AFK or do nothing gives you no reward. Although this philosophy scenario video is about mainly the scenarios that have objectives, because usually they have a philosophy around them, there will also be deathmatch and team deathmatch scenarios for those that like just go in there and bust heads. Although this initial information about the scenario philosophy are all good, and now we have an idea of what to expect and how things are going to work, there's also a few more questions that need to be answered, and hopefully they will be answered in the future. For example, how will healers get contribution for the kills? It may be 1 point, but still contribution towards that. Does healing count? Will they be getting, if they do an AoE heal, we get the kill points from 3 or 4 people that died? You know, there's one thing there. Number 2, will there be extra points on the rewards for things like guarding, mitigating damage, things that happen from the tanks, you know, having the guard, mitigation of damage, which is a thing on Return of Reckoning. There's a few more little details like that. However, right now we do know how the thing is going to work, what is the idea behind it. And I have to be honest, it looks like a good idea. The mechanism in place about the dominate design, the comeback design, the Warband 24 versus 24 is also good news. The AFK no reward, also great news. You don't have to do something. These people are actually going to be penalizing themselves. I'm kind of happy so far. We just need to see a few more details on that and how some things are going to work. And I think we're good to go with this. I really do. Anyways, look at the videos, look at the key points, leave your comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, help the channel grow. And I will see you on the next one.